Kevin himself is a Sacramento native. He holds a degree in civil engineering and started his career in a company in San Francisco managing, well, overseeing civil construction projects before he then changed into real estate. He very graciously accepted my begging letter, my request to give a presentation tonight. And I'm sure that all of us are going to learn a lot about this fabulous mid-century style and its importance for Sunnyvale cityscape.
Thank you. Thank you all for having me, and thanks for the introduction. I guess I can skip my first slide. But thank you all for coming out tonight. I know it's pretty poor weather out there. Before we get started, I have to say, I know Eichler Homes inside and out. For a living, I talk to people, but I do not give presentations like this, so I am a bit nervous. But I'm excited to be here and talk to you all about something that I'm very passionate about. And it's nice to see some familiar faces in the crowd, other Eichler homeowners that I've seen at open houses, people who've purchased homes from us before, clients that we're working with now. So I'm excited to tell you all about the history and kind of where Eichler Homes are today. So we already covered, Katerina, so well about our team and who we are. This on the left is my mother-in-law, Naylor et al., myself in the middle, and my lovely wife, Palin, on the right-hand side. And this is a map of all the Eichler homes that we have sold in Sunnyvale over the years. There's over 440 homes that we've sold in Sunnyvale. Our Eichler Homes total, over 220 Sunnyvale Eichlers. So we are very, very familiar. And I heard already you ask who lives in an Eichler home, but a show of hands, who's been in an Eichler home before? Okay, so a lot of people have been in Eichler homes. That's great. If you haven't and you'd like to see one, you can come talk to me afterwards. And I can introduce you to them when we have new listings. So I'm sure then everybody can spot the Eichler here. The Eichler home is on the top. And there are some unique characteristics that we're going to talk about later on. But first, a little bit about who created these homes. And his name was Joseph Eichler. And he was born in New York in 1900, and then in 1930 he moved to California. And one thing that is a very common misconception is that he was an architect, but Eichler was in fact the builder. He was not the architect, he was a developer. And when he was living in California, he rented a home in Hillsborough, this Frank Lloyd Wright home here, and it inspired him to build mid-century modern homes. And so he founded Eichler Homes after World War II, and over the course of his career, he built 11,000 homes in California. And actually, he built 3 homes in New York, but the majority, almost everything, was built in California. And he built these homes from 1949 until 1974 when he passed away. So one thing before we get into his career that I wanted to touch on was his philosophy on fair housing. You know, this was in the 1950s and 60s in the suburbs where they were using racial covenants to exclude specifically African Americans and Asian Americans from purchasing homes. And Joseph Eichler, he was very public about not agreeing with those policies. In fact, he withdrew from the San Francisco Home Builders Association because they had declared that it was okay to exclude people from purchasing homes because it was impacting the value. And very publicly he said, if you can pay for the house, you make a good neighbor, and that this is going to look poorly in the future. People can't look ahead. He actually also walked away from a housing development in Los Altos because the landowners wanted to have some restrictions. So Eichler features, let's talk about that. Big thing is post and beam construction. So there are posts and beams that carry the load of the house. In many homes you have structural load-bearing walls. A lot of the walls in Eichlers are what we call partition walls. They're not load-bearing. The structure itself is held up by beams, such as this one in the front, and then posts underneath those. That allows for floor-to-ceiling glass, much of which is along the back of the house. A lot of Eichlers, most Eichlers have flat or low-pitched roof lines. Most popular, and a lot in Sunnyvale, atrium models and courtyard models, which we'll talk about later. There was grooved wood paneling, grooved wood siding along the exterior of the home. Many of the earlier models had mahogany wood paneling inside, tongue and groove 2x6 redwood ceiling boards. Characteristically, these homes were, understated from the front, but they really opened up once you get inside and from the backyard. And then another really awesome feature that many Eichler homeowners just can't walk away from is the radiant heat. So there's a boiler that heats hot water, and it runs hot water through the copper piping in the slab, and that heats the floor and then heats the house. He also used a lot of earth tone paint colors. On the left-hand side, you will see these are all the original colors for Eichler homes. The exterior of the homes, though, were not painted, they were stained originally. And it's very rare to come across an Eichler that still has the original stain or has never been painted, but originally they were stained. And then they had pops of color for accents, front door, some of the beams in the front, fascia boards. So I'm going to talk a little bit about some differences between different eras, and we're going to go through the different eras. But on the left-hand side, you will see an Eichler from his earlier era in the 1950s and early 60s. This house specifically was on Torrington. You can see the kitchen. They had sliding door cabinets, which people said were great in an earthquake because things wouldn't fall out, but they did tend to stick. They also had this built-in kitchen table, which actually rotated, and then you can pull it out and it expands, so it allows for people to sit in the kitchen and eat. Mahogany wood paneling on the walls. And as you get into the later years, though, in the mid-60s to early 70s, this is an Eichler that we just recently sold, he did solid wood cabinets that no longer slid. They were bigger floor plans. They had walk-in pantries. Also, instead of mahogany wood paneling walls, he put sheetrock in. And there still was mahogany doors and window trim, but the walls were all sheetrocked. So a little bit about the different models. So most commonly, especially in Sunnyvale, you're going to find courtyard models and atrium models. There are a few other models that don't have courtyards or atrium, but these tend to be the most popular and the most, you'll find them the most in Sunnyvale. So on the left-hand side, we have a courtyard model. This is the garage here, and there is a wall in the front of the house, and you enter the front door into this courtyard. The courtyard is surrounded by, two walls of the house and then an exterior fence. And that's different than the atrium model, where the atrium is then, and that's where our company name comes from, by the way, Atria. It's surrounded by the entire house. So you have, usually there's 3 sliding doors accessing the interior of the home, one into like the family room, one into the living room, and one into the 4th bedroom, which is off the atrium. And these homes tend to be, let a lot of natural light in. I like the courtyard models as well because the courtyard's open from the kitchen, and you have a lot of, private space in the front of the house that usually is not utilized. So these are 2 examples. This on the left is a courtyard model that we sold on Tulora Court. So this leads into the house here, and the courtyard is in the front, surrounded by a fence, and then this home here on Pimento Avenue is an atrium model that we sold last fall. So when I mentioned post and beam construction before, I wanted to show you what that really means. So these beams here are supported by the posts underneath. And in this model, actually this wall originally ran all the way to this beam. But the homeowners were able to remove the wall and leaving the posts in place to open up the space. And that's something that we see more often today. We see buyers purchasing homes and opening up the walls to make them just a more open floor plan. And this is a picture of a home that we sold on Blanchard Way earlier this year in the summer. And you can see the post and beam construction, which allows for these walls of floor to ceiling glass. And this is for home buyers who walk into an Eichler home. When they walk in and they're not familiar with it, they see this, especially people who are relocating to California. I mean, this is California living. You move here and you get to enjoy the nice weather and look outside. I mean, it's just, they make for beautiful, beautiful homes to be able to experience the outdoors. And this is another home we had sold over on Allison Way earlier this year as well. Both of those we sold for original homeowners actually. And you can see here the 2x6 tongue and groove ceiling. This was unpainted, so original stain on the ceiling, and again the full floor to ceiling glass walls. And a lot of Eichlers also have these clerestory windows as well, which let in a lot of natural light from other angles. So I'd like to talk now about just the beginning of Eichler Homes. This is actually an ad for the first Eichler home tract that he built in Sunnyvale Manor. And when Eichler originally started building homes and how he got into it is he was selling like prefabricated housing packages. So homeowners would buy a piece of land and then they would purchase the materials from him and then build that home themselves. That was his business. But one of his foremen encouraged him to get into the home development business, and then he purchased in 1949 a 45-acre ranch in Sunnyvale and started putting together his prefabricated homes on his own. So in Sunnyvale, Sunnyvale is actually where he built his first home. And over his career in Sunnyvale, he built out 15 different tracts, over 1,100 homes in total. And I've broken it down into 3 different kind of eras. The early footholds from 1949 to 1950 when he got started. And then his expansion era when he came back to Sunnyvale in 1958 to 1962. He built 800 homes over 6 tracts. And then in his late era, 1967 to 1973, 6 more tracts and only 170 homes. This aerial map is one that I am going to walk you through, here we go. This is on our website actually. You can find this on Google Maps. These are all the tracts that he's built. He started his career, like I said, in 1949. This is off of Maud Avenue. This is in Sunnyvale Manor. In 1949, he built homes without the use of an architect, and actually he hadn't incorporated Eichler Homes at that time. But he built out a tract, and the homes actually in 1949 were built over here. This represents Sunnyvale Manor 2, which he built in 1950. But his first homes were actually in this area right here off of North Bayview. Now those homes were smaller. They were 3-bedroom, 1 bath, some of them 2-bathroom. But they were much smaller homes, and in 1949 he wasn't working with an architect. In 1950, he also built out Sunnyvale Gardens. This is near Las Palmas Park. This little horseshoe shape. These homes also built without the use of an architect. But then he came back and built out Sunnyvale Manor with architects Anshin and Allen. And that's when the homes really started to kind of come together a little bit of what you would like, what you recognize now as an Eichler. The homes before, they had pitched roofs. Many of them were built on a slab foundation, but they did not have radiant heat. They didn't have floor-to-ceiling glass like they do now, but in Sunnyvale Manor number 2, which he built out in 1950, those homes started having the floor-to-ceiling glass in the back and radiant heat. Although Sunnyvale Manor 2, they used galvanized steel piping in the slab, and those are no longer usually working these days. In 1958 is when he left Sunnyvale at that point. He went and built homes, a lot of homes in Palo Alto. But in 1958, he came back to Sunnyvale. And his first project was here, the Fair Orchard Tract. He built 54 homes. This is off of like Edmonton Avenue. Here's Homestead Road. And these homes were some of the first atrium models that he built. And an interesting fact is that actually Apple founder Steve Wozniak grew up on Edmonton Avenue. And he was living there with his parents when he met Steve Jobs. Unfortunately, his home was renovated to look like a ranch home. So I'd show you a picture, but it doesn't look like an Eichler anymore. After that, he built out one of the larger tracts in Sunnyvale, Fairbray. The original Fairbray, this is, I'm just trying to zoom out here. Hollenbeck Road between Fremont and Remington. This Fairbray number 1 was built out in 1958. And then after that, he built Fairbray Addition, which is a very large tract. And actually, this tract is really unique as well, and something that's very special about it is he built the Fairbray Swim and Racket Club. And that was he built a few of these swim and tennis clubs in his developments in different cities. This is the only one in Sunnyvale, but it really brought a nice community feel. And I do see a lot of home buyers today who really love being able to walk and be a part of that community. After Fairbray Addition, he built out Rancho Verde. These homes are on just off of South Mary Avenue here, and then Rancho Verde Addition in 1962. Then he moved over near what is today near Panama Park. This is the Fairwood Tract. These homes, you'll find a lot of smaller atrium model and courtyard model homes. And then he built out, then he left Sunnyvale after that for a while again. And actually he went bankrupt in between that point and when he came back to Sunnyvale in 1967. And this is when we got into the later years where he started building larger homes, homes with sheetrock, homes that now had grounded electrical. But they were bigger properties. Previously he was building homes that were 1,300 square feet to maybe 1,800 square feet, and now they went from 1,700 to 2,400 square feet. So in his later years, again, he built out different tracts. Rancho San Souci tract. This is just off of Homestead Road by the high school. He built out the Primewood tract. This is just off of south of Fremont Avenue in South Mary. And then the Midtown tract, which is the only tract that he built and the only homes in the 9486 zip code. And this you can see, here's Washington Park over here. There's only 15 homes in that neighborhood. They rarely come available. And then in 1971, the Fairwood Addition, just 2 little cul-de-sacs. And his last homes, his last tract that he built in Sunnyvale over off of Lauren Way, in 1973. So it was, he had the beginning, the end, and kind of the middle expansion period in Sunnyvale. And something that you can find this on our website, but I like to show people as well how you can locate Eichler Homes on your own. And that's by doing a satellite view, and you can see all of the white rooftops. So I'd like to also talk to you a bit about Eichler preservation efforts, because especially, Eichlers weren't all, when they were originally built, they were very popular. People loved them. I mean, they were really truly something unique that was built with, a sense of design. None of them, they weren't all the same. Like a lot of the models that he built, yes, he built courtyard models and atrium models, but variations of those. In every neighborhood, he had 4 or 5, and some of the later ones, no home was the same. So it was very different than other tract homes at that time, where it was exactly the same model over and over again. But there was a period of time where remodeling, people wanted to do their own thing, and modern or contemporary mid-century design wasn't very popular. So a lot of renovations that were done, they were not staying true to the original, design aesthetic. So in Sunnyvale, actually, in 2009, the city of Sunnyvale put together some design guidelines. Now these are not very strictly enforced, but the intent for the guidelines was to accomplish the following: to preserve the unique character of the Eichler homes in their neighborhood, and assist owners in designing new home expansions, other exterior changes, and to respect and complement the scale and character of existing Eichler homes and their surrounding neighborhoods. So the design guidelines that the city of Sunnyvale put together were trying to show homeowners how to make improvements to the house and renovations. In this case, a second-story addition. So you can see on the left side, they said avoid box-like structures like on the top. What they wanted to have was, the beams and the roof overhang like originally was designed. That would complement the original design of the house. In this example, flat panel doors. They didn't, no like glass in the front door or glass in the like ornate designs in the garage doors or the front doors. Just flat panel of garage door or entry door. Now all that was going very well. I'd say like the design guidelines were helpful, but in this year was 2016. I remember getting a phone call from a homeowner on Sesame Drive in the Fairbrae addition who was at the very beginning of kind of fighting a battle with a neighbor who had just purchased a home on Sesame Drive. And those home buyers, they bought this home and they didn't quite understand the degree of which the home hadn't been maintained. They thought that they could do some simple renovations to the home, and they later found out that they needed to do more thorough renovations and remodeling. And so, thus they decided to maximize, the value and the land that they had. So they designed a big 2-story house to rebuild. But that 2-story house was overlooking a number of neighboring homes' backyards. And the homeowner that contacted me was asking for some advice and asking, me to, write a letter essentially to help them to get some more privacy for themselves. Because in the original design of this new home on Sesame Drive, they were windows that were looking directly in to the back of their home and into their bedroom. I mean, the bedrooms in Eichler homes are full pane glass. There's not a lot of privacy if you have a 2-story house behind you. So in 2016, this home was, was constructed, it was built, it's a two-story house. You can see the original Eichler home here, and then this is a photo of the home that was built. And this was a picture from an article that the Eichler network put together, where they interviewed the homeowner who was trying to get some design changes, the neighbor that was trying to get some design changes to provide more privacy for them. Now, it was too late for those homeowners to do this because the plans were already in, but they immediately started gathering signatures in the neighborhood to get neighbors to agree to put in place a single-story overlay. And in fact, they were able to get the signatures they needed. They applied with the city, and the city council agreed and approved a single-story overlay in that Fairbury tract. That tract is here. You can see the little bubble dotted area of the map. This is from the city of Sunnyvale zoning map. And you can see these are all single-story overlay zones now. So there's actually 6 Eichler neighborhoods now which have single-story overlay zoning, meaning you cannot build a second story anymore. So if there is a single-story zoning, you can build a single-story home new. You can follow the Eichler design guidelines, but you cannot build a second story. And a lot of people have asked my opinion on that. And as it is today, I feel like that does provide, it helps enhance the value of the house today because it guarantees that you're going to have privacy in the home. If somebody were to build a 2-story home right behind you, you would lose all that privacy and your home value would drop significantly because the value in these homes is, being able to have the windows, no shades there looking out, into your yard. But if you had somebody invading your privacy, it would definitely impact the value of the home. So you can see here where all the tracts are. You have the Fairbury tract, the Fairbury Addition, the Rancho Verde, this is Primewood, Fair Orchard, and then parts of the Fairwood tract. So let's talk a little bit about Eichler home ownership, and they've really become I've been selling real estate since 2012 actually, and over the past 10, 15 years they've become very, very popular. I think I'd mentioned before, initially they were very popular, and then there was a period of time where they got a bad reputation as being, poorly built, the materials not very, very good. They would, catch on fire with all the mahogany paneling. But over the last 10 years, there have been a lot of, more modern design has become very popular, contemporary design. So a lot of the contractors are focusing on the renovations, and there's specific contractors and designers who are working with Eichler Homes, and the materials available are great. No longer are you only stuck with a tar and gravel roof, but you can have a membrane roof or a foam roof that provide great insulation. This house here, I want to tell you, is on Lenox Way. This is what we call a double gable atrium model. That's one of the most popular models that Eichler ever built. We sold this house just a couple months ago, and it actually was featured in the New York Times when we sold it. And the person who bought the home, they made an offer, their agent told me, they made an offer on an Eichler home that we sold 5 years ago in 2020 in Mountain View. It was another double gable atrium model. And they didn't make an offer since then. They were only looking for an Eichler with a double A-frame. And so they made an offer in 2020, and they waited all the way until 2025 to make another offer, and they bought this home. So it just goes to show you how there are specific buyers who are very, very keen on purchasing an Eichler home and just the right floor plan and right model so that they can turn it into their own home. And a lot of buyers are doing some significant renovations today. So this is a home that we sold in Sunnyvale. This is the original kitchen. And you can see even some original appliances, Formica counters, and mahogany paneling. And this home went through some pretty significant renovations with an architect named John Klopp, who's very popular and does a lot of work with Eichler Homes. I'm going to show you some before and afters of this particular property and what the buyers decided to do with it. So this is their kitchen today. So this is a very, still mid-century modern design. You have the wood cabinets. You have this nice tile with the, I don't know, my wife would know exactly what sort of design it is, but it's like a hexagon. Here is the bathroom and the original tile in this bathroom, and then again, more modern design. This is the dining room, and these are all sort of globe lights. Globe lights are, an original feature in all Eichler homes, actually, from when he first started building it. Something I love about this home is when you look up here, you can't even tell where there's a wall. Unfortunately, I've had 3 people walk through glass walls at open house. I laugh because everybody was okay. But it is something you have to be aware of when you walk into an Eichler home, especially because we clean the glass right before they go on the market. And this is what they turned it into. So they instead of the glow light, they have this George Nelson bubble lamp, which is also mid-century. And this is another home. This is going to be an example of a very modern home. So this is another double gable model this is on Maraschino Drive in Sunnyvale. This is just on South Mary and like Ticonderoga. And this home was sold by the original owners. And this is an example of what it turned into. It's very modern, it's all white. This is the atrium originally. And this is the after. Here's the original kitchen. You can see, again, the sliding doors, the mahogany wood paneling. Here is the built-in kitchen table. This is the original vinyl VCT tile flooring. And then here's the more modern kitchen. Oh, the bedroom, oh yeah, here's the original bedroom. Personally, I like the original more, especially because they have the stained ceiling. So that original gray stained ceiling, I think it just looks so beautiful. You can see the wood grain in it, So I never like to paint them if it's original because you just can't get it back. And it really contrasts well with the white beams or another color beam, but that gray ceiling. But this is what the after was. Now, you can see the flooring still was like a lot. Now they put in a large tile, probably porcelain, is very, very popular. People like to put in tile flooring in the homes because it works really well with the radiant heat system. You want something that's going to transfer that heat. So something like hardwood, while it looks beautiful, if the radiant heat has to work really hard in order to get through the thick hardwood. And if you ever have, which you will have leaks in your radiant heat, you have to take up the flooring in order to fix it. And so if you have hardwood flooring, it's going to be very difficult to get it out and put it back without having, a very obvious place where you cut the flooring. And then this is the back of the house. And there is the after. So you can see now they've taken that whole that whole, well, there was a wall here, you can see, and they just took the whole wall out and put in glass that basically folds into the wall, so it's just a completely indoor-outdoor. So you can see that the homes originally are beautiful in itself, but they also lend themselves now to much, more modern design, which if you're a buyer and you want to do that, these are just a great starting palette for something, really modern like that. So, before I get into that, I do want to walk you through some of these homes. This is a 1961 Eichler home. This is a carport atrium model home. This is on Kingfisher. Kingfisher is near Panama Park. And this is one of the kind of expansion era homes, so you can see all the mahogany wood paneling in the house. They have an unpainted brick fireplace. The ceiling is still the original stain. There's original globe lighting in the house. And the kitchen was very original as well. It's tight quarters, but you have the original cabinets, Formica countertops. In this model, the kitchen had this small little family room. And the living room, again, opens up to both the backyard. You have the floor-to-ceiling panels of glass, and it also opens up to the atrium. Well, let me get a better picture of the atrium, which lets in so much natural light. And there are actually too much natural light in this one, so we had installed these Roman shades over the atrium. And some of the other, I want to show you these. We never take pictures of closet doors for listings, but these are original closet doors, which are pretty, I think are pretty cool. And in this house, actually, there's drywall in the bedrooms, but you can see the mahogany wood trim and the doors for the house. And these is like original hardware in the home. This home was being sold by the original owner, so there was a lot of original features still left. But this house was 1,550 square feet, so it's 4-bedroom, 1,550 square feet. It's pretty standard for the neighborhood. But then this is an example on Lenox Way. This is the home that was featured in the New York Times that the buyers waited 5 years to find. And this property was over 2,000 square feet. And this is the 4th bedroom off of the atrium. This is in the 1967, I believe. These are the original closet doors for this home. They had sheetrock everywhere. Original outlets that were grounded. But you can see this just makes a beautiful office space. Open to the atrium. It's high pitched ceiling and glass up above. And as we walk back into the living space of the home, you'll see why these properties are, this model in particular is just so popular, because you have this very high ceiling that's probably 20 feet as opposed to standard 8-10 feet in some of the other Eichlers. And this actually was in the kitchen. A lot of the kitchen was original as well, if I can get us there. I'll go this way. So in the kitchen, this is original tile, actually, ceramic tile. So he was no longer, he would have installed luxury vinyl tile as well, but originally in this model, the ceramic tile was only in the entry, but the original owners had him added into the kitchen area as well. But these are, you can see there still was the table, which swung and expanded. There was the original cooktop, which is a very, they no longer make cooktops that are this size. So if the elements go out, you can't keep the countertop, and you have to just start over essentially. But these later models, you can see like this big, window over the sink. There was an attached laundry room. At that other model, the laundry was just in the kitchen. And these later models, there was actual laundry room and a walk-in pantry. So just more spacious, models. And that concludes my presentation.
Question?
Yeah.
I have a question. Over on the corner of Ticonderoga and Mary, there is an Eichler that's having a second story put on it.
Yeah.
Is that in a different zone over there?
It is. That is not protected, actually. So I can go back to that map. So on this map,
The house is actually on South Mary.
it is on Mary, but it's on the other side of South
Yes.
Mary. So it's on the fire department side, and that side was not included. So that's Rancho Verde Addition. Actually, I sold that house previously. The homeowner, he would lose it if he knew a second story was going on there. But that's not part of this, that area wasn't converted to a single story overlay.
And just as another, I don't think it was an Eichler, there was another house down by Remington that they tore down completely, all the way down to the ground.
On Remington?
No, that's on South Mary.
It's on right, it's on right.
Oh, on right.
No,
Maybe on Mary, on right.
So Mary's here, right's
not right. It's near Remington.
Remington up here.
One block in from Remington, and south on Mary.
But it's on Mary.
It's on Mary.
Oh, but not an Eichler.
No.
Yeah, yeah. So there's actually only one neighborhood in Sunnyvale that is a single story overlay that is not Eichler Homes, and it's this one here. It's just south of, oh, not that one, sorry, where are we? Over here. These are not Eichler Homes. I'm not sure when or why they were converted to single story, but those other properties weren't. There was an Eichler that was rebuilt completely on Sheridan Drive a few years back.
It burned down, I believe, with the friend of ours. He got out in time.
Oh, well,
That's done.
that's I think a different. I'm thinking of a different one.
Okay.
But there was one where it was actually homeowners that also owned an Eichler on Sheridan, and they bought a home that was in pretty poor condition, and then they rebuilt it, but it looks exactly like an Eichler. Yes.
Oh, years ago, I have friends who lived, I think it's Sheraton Court, one of the original Eichlers. Claude Oakland, who was one of his architects, made a second story on it. It's beautiful. It's very integrated. They had 6 kids. They needed a good sized house. And but it's in a cul-de-sac, and I think it's Sheridan Court is the name of it. And I would urge anybody to go by and see what can be done with a well-designed second story, because that one that's going up on Mary just looks like somebody's taking a box and popping it on top. It's kind of weird.
Yeah.
And I'm waiting to see what the final outcome of that one is.
Yeah.
Yeah, the one on Mary.
Hang on. Sorry.
Yes.
Okay. You were saying that he built in several phases, and you said, when he went away and he came back.
Yeah.
So where did he go, and was he building Eichlers?
He was building Eichler. So he built Eichler Homes. He built I mentioned 1,100 in Sunnyvale, but he built 3,000 in Palo Alto. He also built a lot of Eichler homes in Marin County, in San Mateo, Redwood City. He built a few in Menlo Park, Cupertino, San Jose, and Willow Glen. There's a little pocket near the Westgate Shopping Center. In Southern California, in Orange County as well. In the East Bay, he built homes in Walnut Creek. He built homes in Concord, in the Oakland Hills. So there's quite a bit of areas where he was developing, but so when I say he went away, it really was, he was building out in different cities, except for that period, I want to say it was around 65 where he went bankrupt, and then he came back afterwards.
Jim, you're supposed to use the microphone.
So we were members of the Fairbury Swim Club, and we joined about 1960, 69, 70, something like that. And it was full of people who were boasting that they were the ones who built the private individuals who built the Fairbury Swim Club. And I'm wondering if you don't understand what the relationship was between homeowners and Eichler in the building of that swim club.
I do not know,
Okay.
but I'm gonna find out.
They're all dead by now.
If he was doing so much building, why did he go bankrupt?
That's a great question. I think so, exactly. He was overextend himself, just ran out of cash.
I think the one thing that's so admirable about him is that he did sell to blacks. And we knew blacks who lived in back in the 60s, I guess it's the 60s, I've been here so long, I can't remember. Anyway, but we did know black families who lived in Eichlers, and that was sort of thing. And then there were also a whole bunch of liberal, liberal politically people who lived in Eichlers, who happened to be friends of ours, surprise, surprise. But I mean, that was so admirable of him because he really stood up to a lot of redlining and everything else.
Yes, thank you.
In Palm Springs, they talked a lot about mid-century modern homes that were built for the movie stars, and Eichler wasn't one of the makers of them. Was he considered to be a great builder? Were his houses considered more for normal people, normal salaries? And then what is his connection with the more well-known mid-century modern architects?
Great question. So, he was a builder. He built out tract homes for everyday, working Americans, people who, this was right after World War II, so he was building out homes for everyday people. He built a handful of custom homes, a few of them in Los Altos Hills. He built a home for himself in Atherton, but most of his homes were, tract housing that were, to be honest, they weren't, they were not high-end properties at the time, right? I mean, they were beautifully designed because he was working with architects. He worked with Anshin and Allen. He worked with Claude Oakland. Those were the main architects that he was working with. And that was not seen in tract housing, but it was not, high-end custom homes that he was building.
Related to that, you had the poster with the starting price on for that time. How did that price compare to other homes in the area at that time? And then how's it varied over the years with relative comparison to other homes at different times?
That's a good question. I cannot speak to what the home values were in 1950s. However, I can tell you about the market today for them. It depends on what city you're in. In Sunnyvale specifically, there's not a huge difference, to be honest with you, between Eichler home sale prices and ranch homes. In Sunnyvale, the home buyers today, they are looking to be in Sunnyvale because they want to be in close proximity to work. Many of the home buyers, because of the price point here, is so high. I mean, in the where the Eichlers are now, mostly in the 9487 zip code, I mean, the average sale price is very, very close to $3 million for a home. So they're mostly concerned with being within a 15, 20-minute commute of work to, working, people and kids. So the prices are not as, different for Eichler homes or ranch homes. With a few exceptions, some of the properties that are Eichlers, like the one on Lenox, that was the double gable model, I mean, those do sell at a premium price because there's so few of them and they are very, very popular. But some of the smaller Eichler homes that are 1,400, 1,500 square feet, they tend to sell in line with others in the neighborhood. I'd say the more original homes, though, compared to a very outdated ranch home, the Eichlers tend to sell pretty well. But when the homes are both updated, they're relatively similar. Now, in other parts of Silicon Valley, though, specifically I will say in Willow Glen, the Eichler homes there do sell at a premium. They sell 5 to 10% higher than the ranch homes in the surrounding neighborhood. And the reason is because the models there are very similar to the models that are here in Sunnyvale. They're atrium models, courtyard models. They're very popular, but they are, a third of the, 2/3 of the cost, right? They are around $2 million. And so if you're a home buyer, you want an Eichler home, those buyers, they tend to look across cities. They want to be in a particular model, they want to be in an Eichler home. So if they just can't quite buy an Eichler in Sunnyvale, then they look at some of those areas that are further south, and the price goes up for them for that reason.
I wondered if you could say something more about the relationship between Eichler and Frank Lloyd Wright aesthetically. That it does seem to me that the Eichler houses do have, although the content is different from Wright's work, that the aesthetic principles seem very much the same, and I've described Eichlers as like Frank Lloyd Wright for the masses. And I wonder how you would feel about your thoughts on that matter.
I think that's a very true statement. I mentioned he was renting a Frank Lloyd Wright home in Hillsborough, and it really inspired him. So again, the mid-century modern style, the floor-to-ceiling glass, bringing the indoor, outdoor, living, the roof overhangs, all of those design elements, like he wanted to build those homes. When he was building the homes in the 1949, 1950 on his own, he didn't have an architect that he was working with. They still had some of those elements that he took from Frank Lloyd Wright. Then he decided, let me go hire a professional who can design these homes, which was Anshin and Allen Architects at that time. But you're absolutely right, I've heard that as well, that it is Frank Lloyd Wright homes for, more for the masses.
Yeah, I was interested in what you said about those early ones, because I grew up in that very large tract on the east side of Hollenbeck, and I remember going over to that 1949 tract that was on the other side of Remington, and it never occurred to me that those were Eichlers, because they look so very different.
Yeah, they didn't have radiant heat, and that's he wasn't working with architects. I mean, that is an example of like when you think ranch homes have a different style, but they weren't working with architects to build them, right? So if Eichler hadn't decided to partner with these, architects at that time, all of his homes probably would have looked like those homes in Sunnyvale Gardens there off of Remington.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
When you're selling Eichler, that needs upgrades or whatever, refurbishment, do the owners ever get shocked at what it takes to remodel an Eichler? Being no crawl space, no slab, whatever, do you forewarn them?
I do, but, you know, do you remember that house on Sheridan that built Sesame, that built the 2-story house? Those buyers were not warned. They didn't have representation themselves. They worked with the agents that were selling the house. And those agents did not, you know, make sure they were aware of all of those things, like the cost, you know, associated with repiping a house that doesn't have a crawl space, that doesn't have a, you know, attic space. So I think it's important as a realtor that you are, making sure that the buyers are aware of it. Our sellers, you know, we make the process very easy for them if we're renovating a house to sell the property by managing that, project managing the improvements for them. But I think it's something that home buyers definitely should be aware of. And I get a lot of questions. That's one reason that, you know, a lot of our clients end up hiring us. It's not just because I understand Eichlers myself, but I can walk an agent who is representing a buyer through all of this as well. Many agents have never sold an Eichler home. They don't understand the costs involved. They don't understand how to do it. And so for many years, they would just shy their clients away from them. But because they don't want to, it's something they don't understand, they don't want to have to get involved with. So I spend a lot of time talking with other agents and explaining these to them so that they feel confident, and many times they have me talk to their buyers directly so I can walk them through the process.
Good.
I have 2 questions, if I may.
Mhm.
One, the houses right across from the Cumberland School, are they Eichlers?
Yes.
Okay. And second question, what are the differences between Eichlers and Gavellos?
Okay.
And there is another style, Jones and Emons?
Oh yeah, Jones and Emons was another architect that worked with Eichler. The Gavello homes they were built by a builder named Elmer Gavello. They are very similar to Eichlers because he also worked with the architects that designed those homes were Amshin and Allen. And so the same architect worked with Eichler and worked with Gavello. The Gavello homes they also had radiant heat. They post and beam construction as well. They did not have atriums. They were built over near like Brawley Park in the 9486 zip code. They're big lots. A lot of them are on 10,000 square foot lots. Some interesting thing about those homes as well is many of them were built with septic tanks. They weren't connected to the sewer at the time. But they're very similar homes. There's other Eichlers. Another very popular or prevalent builder was Mackey. He built homes in Mauna Loma neighborhood of Mountain View and in Santa Clara. He built a lot of homes as well. But there's no Mackey homes in Sunnyvale. And then there's another builder, American Housing Guild, built homes in Sunnyvale, just a few houses here and there. Those homes actually had atriums, a lot of them did. So they're very similar to Eichlers in that, but they were on raised foundation, they had forced heating, they did not have the floor-to-ceiling windows that Eichlers do. And the last one I would mention would be the Ball patio homes. They're also, I'd say, mid-century modern, but they were later built. They were built in the 70s.
Are there Eichler homeowners groups, especially ones who are dealing with things that have not seen a lot of maintenance or not, or are closer to original?
You meaning like groups to help each other with like remodeling or like maintaining?
Yeah.
Yes, I think there's some groups that are on like Facebook. There's a website called the Eichler Network, which they used to put out this California Modern magazine. They've since stopped doing that, but they still have this website, the Eichler Network, where there are a lot of different chats about different improvements that you can make. There's different blogs that are out there as well for homeowners who've purchased original Eichlers and refurbished them into, going back into original condition. I've heard of Eichler homeowners taking painted mahogany walls and stripping the paint off to bring the mahogany wall back. So you can find a lot of it out there, but there's nothing. I get a lot of homeowners that ask me for recommendations too.
Has everyone replaced those windows? I witnessed a person going through one of those windows on a Halloween party. That is that party. But anyway, are all the windows now sort of double paned and?
No.
So you still walk through them?
Still, yes. I mean, in a given year, I sell between 25 and 30 Eichler homes, and I would say well over half are still original single pane windows. It is very expensive to change out the windows in an Eichler home and do it well, and it can be $75,000, $80,000, depending on the model. It can be more. So it's something that there's still a lot of Eichlers that have original single pane. You can put a safety film over it. So instead of changing it out to tempered glass and double pane, you can get a film, like a clear film. Think of it like a piece of tape that goes over the glass, so that if it does break, that it will hold it together.
And then what about air conditioning?
That's becoming more and more critical these days. So there's different options. The most common is putting in a mini split, heat pump system. That's the cheapest and easiest way to do it.
And you could have gotten rebates, but too
Yeah.
late now.
Yeah.
We have somebody else saying that.
Kevin, thank you very much.
Thank you all for coming, and I hope everyone drives safe home.